In this video I'm going to be sharing with you 11 tips to help protect your precious crown from damage by the sun, and I'm so pleased to announce that I am collaborating with the lovely Andy from the Budget Angular. He has fantastic videos on urban fishing, and this is part of a new series where he will be exploring good value fishing baits. And in the video, which I will leave the link for in the description box below, he actually does catch some fish using bread as a bait. He also has a Facebook, Twitter and Instagram account, all the links in the description box below, so do go ahead and check out his page and show him some love. Without further ado, we're going to get into tip number 1. This is probably the most obvious one, but it is to wear a hat, but not just any type of hat. Wear the hat that gives you full coverage of your head, and also, according to the American Cancer Society, woven hats offer more protection than straw hats. In addition to this, you can opt for a brand that sells hats with an ultraviolet protection factor number, UVB for short, as they are tested and regulated by the FDA. Number 2. Don't shampoo your hair as often. The oil that our scalp naturally produces, which is sebum, acts as a protection from the sun's UV rays. If you are shampooing your hair frequently, especially if you're using shampoos that have sulfates, it's stripping your hair of all that natural barrier. And so a good alternative to shampooing once a week would be shampooing bi-weekly and then co-washing bi-weekly. So 1 week you shampoo, next week co-wash, next week shampoo, next week co-wash. Or you can just shampoo your hair once every 2 weeks if you want to, or use a dry shampoo. Tip number 3. Deep conditioning. You should deep condition at least once a week, especially within the summer months. This will help to keep your hair moisturized and to keep it moisturized from the inside out, not just looking like it's moisturized. We want to have a deep conditioner that has ingredients that penetrate the hair shaft, so they go beneath the cuticle layer and go into the cortex. Keeping your hair moisturized will help control the water content of your hair, provide some occlusivity and emolliency, and fill in and smoothen the cuticle. The cuticle is UV's and heat's first barrier, so it is pivotal to take care of it to help protect your cortex. Tip number 4 is to use a leave-in conditioner or a moisturizer that already has a sun protection factor in it. This will help to give your hair extra protection from the sun's UVB rays. Dermatologists do recommend using a SPF of at least 30, which will help to block 97% of the sun's UVB rays. Tip number 5 is to use a natural oil that acts as a protective barrier. Oils help to smooth the cuticle, add shine, and also deliver a natural sun protection. Now, as our hair produces sebum that acts as a sun barrier, from that information we gleaned that it would be good to use jojoba oil, because jojoba oil is the closest to the natural sebum that we produce. And also flaxseed oil. The antioxidants found in flaxseed oil are highly concentrated. They help the skin to protect against free radicals and UV rays, which nicely moves me on to tip number 6, which is don't forget about your scalp, especially if you have box braids or box twists, flat twists, or you got cane rows. Then you definitely want to be protecting your scalp. Even if you've got a wash and go and you've just got a side parting, really, or a middle parting, really do focus on that area, which again moves me nicely into tip number 7, which is that you are able to use some sunscreen lotions which are designed for your skin on your hair as well. So do be mindful of that, and do read the packaging or look at the ingredients to determine if you can put it on your hair. And all you have to do is warm some in your hands and then just apply it to your hair, and you can also apply it to your scalp as well. Again, when doing this, you do want to look for one that has an SPF of at least 30. Tip number 8 is to use a water spray bottle to add some extra moisture to your hair. I would say to moisturize your hair with a water spray bottle at least every 3 days. You could do it every other day. Sometimes I do it 2 days in a row, sometimes I do it every day. You just want to be careful that you don't end up with high growth fatigue. But if you're not spraying it that much, like you're not trying to get your hair wet or not even so much damp, just like maybe 1, 2, I'd say probably 2 or 3 sprays with the water spray bottle. That's all that I use, and that is definitely enough just to give my hair some added moisture, and also try and get it on my scalp as well. Just like with the plants, when you're watering them, if you water them too much, it can actually cause them to wither away. So you don't want to be watering your scalp or your hair too much. But water does have a thermal conductivity of 0.58. The lower the thermal conductivity of a material, the better it is at blocking rapid heat transfers to the hair. Now, although infrared, which you may feel as heat, is the least damaging out of all 3 of the sunlight emissions that reach the earth, and if you was to look at an individual through an infrared camera, even in the daylight, you will notice that their hair has a slightly lower temperature than the rest of the whole body. You still want to do as much as possible to protect your hair from damage and from all 3 of the sunlight emission that reaches the sun. Even if it's the least damaging, you definitely still want to do what you can to protect your hair, which is why I recommend using water, because water, when properly bound within textured hair, acts as a buffer by absorbing the heat and controlling the rate and speed at which the temperature of our hair increases. The slower the rate of our hair increases in temperature, the better it is for our hair. Tip number 9 is to avoid flat irons and curling tongs. Our hair is already getting enough heat from the sun, and the last thing we want to do is add extra heat with curling tongs and with flat irons, especially if you're using them quite regularly, which I would say like once every 2 to 3 months is quite regularly. Not as regularly as somebody using it like once a month or weekly, which as a natural I definitely wouldn't suggest weekly or once a month, but I think once every 3 months is okay. It definitely depends on the condition of your overall hair health, but generally for somebody with healthy hair, once every 3 months is okay. But you definitely want to try and avoid using it when you are in the summer months, or when there is a random heat wave in the middle of winter or something like that. Which goes nicely into tip number 10, which is to let your hair air dry instead of using blow dryers, which again is extra heat. Or if you are going to use a blow dryer, it would be best to use it on a cool setting at a slow speed, so using it over a longer period of time rather than using it on like a warmer setting in a shorter period of time. The former is more healthier for our hair strands. And last but definitely not least, tip number 11 is to go out early in the morning or later in the evening. Generally the sun tends to peak between 12 to 3 p.m. So if you can avoid these times, you're not getting the full force of the sun. Please do let me know if you have any other tips that you can share that will help us to protect our crown. If you do implement any of these tips, please do let me know. Don't forget to go ahead and check out the budget angler, show him some love, subscribe. I thank you so much for all of your support. I wish you all the best on your hair care journey. Take care.